Enoch achieved a unique feat in pre-flood history, maintaining a consistent relationship described as walking with God for 300 years. This concept is far more than mere religious devotion. It signifies an intimate and sustained communion, a continuous intermingling of the mortal and the divine. In the context of his society, where human wickedness was escalating, and every intention of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually, Genesis 6:5. Enoch's choice of companionship was an act of profound spiritual rebellion. He consciously prioritized the Creator's presence over the material temptations and self-indulgence that dominated the world. Imagine the depth of those 3 centuries of conversation. Enoch seeking answers about creation, life, and death. God sharing his sorrow over humanity's rebellion and revealing his plan of redemption. This relationship transformed Enoch into a mirror of God's heart, making him the living archetype of the perfect human being Adam was intended to be before the fall. It surpasses even the communion Adam had in Eden, as Enoch had to choose to sustain this fellowship amid overwhelming pressure and societal rejection. His persistence proved that a relationship with God is possible, not only in heaven but on earth, provided one offers a completely surrendered heart. This was the essence of Enoch's faith, an absolute trust that led to unparalleled closeness and ultimately transcended the limits of death. His walk stands as the ultimate counter-narrative to human spiritual isolation, affirming that mankind was created for the continuous presence of the divine. Enoch was not merely a pious man. He was an anointed prophet entrusted with delivering a stark, final warning. His prophetic ministry wasn't about gentle moral guidance, but a firm declaration of impending judgment. The Book of Jude preserves a fragment of Enoch's prophecy, where he foresaw the second coming of Christ thousands of years later, declaring, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment on all, and to convict all who are ungodly." This message carried a double significance. It forewarned the immediate flood catastrophe while emphasizing the eternal nature of God's holiness. He will always judge unrighteousness. Delivering this message in an era where the earth was corrupt in God's sight and the earth was filled with violence was an act of immense spiritual courage. He stood alone, facing the mockery and potential hostility of a society self-satisfied with the technological and cultural achievements of Cain's lineage. Enoch's role was that of a solitary watchman, desperately trying to rouse a humanity asleep in sin. His message was not intended to merely threaten, but was a final, urgent invitation fueled by God's grief and love for his creation. Through his walks, Enoch grasped the broken heart of God over human wickedness, and he became the faithful voice conveying both his wrath and his unwavering patience. His ministry set a powerful precedent for the fidelity required of a messenger, one who is willing to be hated in order to speak the truth. The analysis of Enoch's son, Methuselah, reveals astonishing depth in the intersection of theology and family life. The name Methuselah, meaning, "when he dies, it shall come," was a direct, God-given prophecy to Enoch, identifying the critical event that would trigger the Great Flood. This transformed Methuselah into more than just a child. He became a walking prophecy, a living countdown clock for the world. The burden this placed on Enoch was immense. Every time he spoke his son's name, he was reminded of the impending global destruction. Yet within this context, we see not just judgment but the boundless mercy of God. Methuselah lived for 969 years, the longest lifespan recorded in history, and his death coincided perfectly with the start of the flood. This extraordinary longevity was, in essence, maximum extended grace granted to mankind. Every year Methuselah lived was another opportunity for the pre-flood world to repent. Enoch and later Noah possessed tangible, undeniable proof of the suspended judgment, challenging the indifference and ridicule of the masses. The narrative powerfully illustrates a core theological principle. Even in the pronouncement of judgment, God acts with supreme patience, willing that none should perish. 2 Peter 3:9. Methuselah's name stands as a powerful example of how God uses every facet of human life, even the intimate family event of nomming a child, to fulfill his purposes of warning and redemption. Enoch's miraculous translation, being taken by God without dying, sets him apart, but the book of Hebrews unlocks the key to this event. By faith, Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death. This confirms that his translation was not an arbitrary divine favor, but the natural consequence of a life lived by faith. What was this faith? It was the faith that motivated him to seek and pursue God's presence above all else, a faith that turned obedience into joy. Hebrews offers an even deeper testimony. Before his translation, he had the testimony that he pleased God. This is the ultimate validation a mortal can receive. Enoch's pleasing God shows that the divine is not searching for unattainable perfection, but for complete devotion. In a world chasing after the material, Enoch proved that the most valuable thing to God is a heart that trusts and seeks him diligently. This faith gradually dissolved the barrier between his physical body and the eternal realm, making his transition from earth to heaven virtually inevitable. God made Enoch's translation a massive object lesson. He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Enoch's life converted love and obedience into a supernatural bridge, bypassing the natural sentence of death. The moment Enoch vanished from the physical world was an event of singular impact on his contemporaries. The concise, cryptic account in Genesis 5:24, "And he was not, for God took him," carries the full weight of absolute divine intervention. It was not a natural death. It was a direct rapture, an ascension without passing through the gate of death. This sudden vanishing acted as a silent yet thunderous declaration more potent than any prophecy. For the wicked mockers who had dismissed Enoch's warnings, this event was indisputable evidence of God's power. They could not explain it away by natural laws. The physical void left by Enoch's absence forced them to confront the reality of a sovereign God who could act at will, transcending all earthly constraints. The event served as a public authentication of everything Enoch had preached. If God could supernaturally remove one man from the earth, he could certainly bring supernatural judgment upon it. Conversely, for the righteous lineage of Seth who believed Enoch's message, the disappearance was a profound source of comfort and encouragement. It proved their faith was not in vain, and that there was an eternal realm where the reward for loyalty was uninterrupted communion with God. Enoch's was not created a clear spiritual divide, absolute hope for the faithful and terror for the resistant, highlighting the nature of judgment. The righteous are removed before the destruction arrives. Though Enoch left behind no physical monuments or archaeological relics, his legacy has endured for millennia as the archetype of the faith-filled life. His story is not just history. It is a practical blueprint for every believer. It is possible to live a life pleasing to God right in the middle of a wicked world. This is particularly powerful because it refutes the notion that holiness can only be achieved in isolation or through complicated ritual. Enoch achieved supreme devotion through his daily walks, fulfilling his roles as a husband, father. He had sons and daughters, and a regular human being. His legacy is a challenge to spiritual mediocrity, reminding us that the primary pursuit of life must be the relationship with the Creator. His translation also became a prophetic foreshadowing of the future, a guarantee that the faithful will be gathered by God. It provided a powerful source of hope, especially for Noah, his great-grandson, who grew up under the shadow of the predicted judgment and later also walked with God, Genesis 6:9, like his grandfather. The passing of faith from Enoch to Noah through a deteriorating world testifies to the power of spiritual inheritance. Ultimately, Enoch showed that true success in life is being called God's friend, a title that supersedes all earthly accolades. His walk remains a standing invitation, urging each person to examine the depth and fidelity of their own relationship with the divine.